First, this video is not about me quitting writing, shutting down the publishing company, or anything like that. But it is a conversation on beginnings, endings, and shifting gears. Mostly career related, but a little personal stuff too. So buckle in, wherein I talk a little bit about my life before Falstaff and some news I got today that cast all of that in a interesting light. First off, sorry for the wet hair. I just got out of the shower. First time I've been able to take a shower in a couple of days because our water line was backed up. They're putting in fiber optic cable internet in my neighborhood, and they punched a hole in my sewer line, which led to red clay, because I live in North Carolina, red clay getting into my sewer line. And red clay, funny enough, not water soluble and doesn't wash down a pipe very easily. So things stopped flowing downhill as they were supposed to, and I had to get a plumber out. And then they had an emergency water main break that they were on, so that got pushed by a day. And then I wanted to be a little gentle with the system yesterday, so I didn't take a shower to run a pile of water through it. But now I am clean, and you are no longer experiencing smell-o-vision, because nobody wants that. Nobody wants 300 pounds of smelly redneck in their... Okay, if you do, I'm not going to kink shame. You do you, and you do all the smelly rednecks you want. But before I was a YouTube celebrity, yeah, I know, I'm not a YouTube celebrity, but my plumber did say that he had seen me on YouTube, and he doesn't follow anything on fantasy literature or writing, so dog only knows how he found me, but he said whatever I was doing was funny, so that's probably my marketing director following me around at a convention, as opposed to one of these videos where I tend to be, I don't know, less funny, more erudite. Erudite is really never what I'm shooting for. But back in the day, before I was a full-time writer and part-time publisher, or a full-time publisher and part-time writer, depending on the day, I worked in the entertainment lighting industry. I was in sales and systems design, which means that whenever you go into a theater or TV studio or even a big church that has a lot of lighting, well, somebody has to design where all those lights go, what specific lights they're using, and sell them. That was me. I was pretty good at it. I was head of the systems group for Barbizon Lighting Company out of Charlotte, and I had, I don't know, a dozen or so people that worked for me in the Charlotte and Atlanta offices, and I went all around the southeastern United States trying to sell things and install them and make them work and make them light up and be pretty. See? Pretty blue light. That was my life for nearly 20 years. I worked there for 17 and a half years, from 22 to 38. Yes, I know those dates are a little funky math-wise, but I started in November, left in March, my birthday's in August, so it was 17 and a half years. And it was a lot of fun, but that time of my life came to an end. I decided I wanted to try to write for a living, and I was making enough money to mostly support myself and my family. I've been the sole breadwinner for our family for a long time, so anything I decided to do in that regard had to be thoroughly discussed, and it was. So I left Barbizon in 2012. I found out today that 12 and a half years later, they're closing the Charlotte office, and I have a lot of feelings about that. Feelings that I didn't expect, because I thought I'd written the company off. I mean, I'm still friends with a good many people who work there. I have a ton of really fond memories of the company. I loved my time working there, most of it. But I certainly didn't expect to feel ownership still of that office, and I do. Um, but I've had a couple of conversations with people within the company about why things are changing, and yeah, they're not stupid people. They're very intelligent people. So whatever they're doing for at least what they think are good reasons. And I'm not there. I don't work in the industry anymore. I can't tell you whether they're right or wrong. But I can tell you that this has led me to think about a lot of things in various careers. And it's important to remember that you as a human being evolve. That means that what you do as a human being, as a creator, as a artiste, whatever, however you think of yourself, that also needs to evolve. I've said several times that I'm working on the 9th and final Black Knight Chronicles book. I love the Black Knight Chronicles. I think it's a solid series. I've had a lot of fun writing it. It has opened so many doors for my career, and I'm kind of done with it. The reason it's taking me so long to get the 9th and final book out is because I want to do the book justice, to do the series justice with a finale. And I'm having to work hard to care, because I started writing the Black Knight Chronicles in 2009. That was 15 years ago. Beat. 15 years of working with the same couple of characters is a lot. I've done 8 books with those guys, and that's a good long run for a series. I had a talk one time with Kalena Price, who's the author of the incredible Alex Craft urban fantasy books. If you haven't read them, check them out. And she said to me that she had no plans to do more than 8 or 9 in that series, because series eventually get stale. Now, at the time, I was new in writing series, and I thought, oh, come on, how does a series get stale? And I thought about it, and I was like, well, she's been at this a little longer than me. Maybe she knows something. So I didn't dismiss her out of hand, but in the back of my mind, I thought, meh, she just doesn't know what she's talking about. She totally knew what she was talking about. Series get stale. They have to change and evolve. I'm reading a John Sanford novel right now, and his Lucas Davenport, his Prey books, are prime examples of how series evolve to not get stale. The main character, Lucas Davenport, actually not the main character of the book I'm reading, but we'll get to that in a second. The main character has evolved from a cop to basically a state cop to, I think, a Fed by the time it was all said and done, or maybe a big high muckety-muck state cop. But also along the way, Sanford spun off a couple of the characters from Davenport books into their own series. The daughter, Letty Davenport, now has 2 books in her series, and they're quite good. I actually like them a lot. And Virgil Flowers has, I think, a dozen books in his series, and they all came out of this same Lucas Davenport Prey series, and that's something that Sanford has done very well, is evolve. And I know a lot of authors who work very hard at doing that and do different things. Look at Gail Martin and Morgan Bryce. 2 people, 1 meat suit. Gail started off as straight up epic fantasy, morphed into more urban fantasy along with epic fantasy, and then decided to do some paranormal romance under a pseudonym, and now she's just churning right along. That's evolution as a writer. You can look at some of my series to see the same thing. The Black Knight Chronicles were very light, very easygoing. Harker is significantly less so, significantly darker, significantly grittier, to reflect changes in the market, to reflect changes in the world, to reflect changes in myself. Recently, a friend of mine asked if hopping genre, said that he had gotten advice that hopping genres was bad for his brand. Well, that's probably true. I also don't give a shit, because I, as a creative, am more than my brand. So if, like right now, I'm working on a serial killer thriller that I've been working on for a while. Thrillers are harder to plot than urban fantasy, because urban fantasy, most of the urban fantasy I write, they're largely police procedurals, where you got a bad guy doing a bad thing and a good guy trying to stop the bad guy, and they meet up in the middle and all is resolved. Lather, rinse, repeat, insert Bosch trope here. But a good, well-crafted thriller has a lot of elements of a mystery to it, and you have to keep changing and raising the stakes in different ways, and it makes it more difficult to structure for me, because I haven't done it as much. I've got this whole shelf full of urban fantasy stuff that I've written. Haven't done a straight up old school serial killer thriller, despite the fact that that's most of what I read nowadays. So I'm trying to evolve as a writer and do new things. So I told my friend, you should do the same thing. Write the stuff you care about. Beat. At the 12-minute mark, we get to the controversial statement that Hartness makes. Right to market is a crock of shit. Now, yes, there's money to be made in taking apart a market and analyzing its tropes and writing it well. And that is what most good writers do. But when you are identifying what you think is an underserved market, and you are writing a book to fill that niche that you don't give a shit about otherwise, that's when it's a crock. And that's when it's going to come out like you're just here for the bucks. And if readers think that you're just in it for the money, eventually they're going to stop giving you their money, because they want passion on the page. Not just in romantasy, but it is very important there too. Readers can tell when you're full of shit, and they can tell when you're phoning it in. So if you want to write a comedic horror novel, and then write a thriller, and then write a romantasy, and then write a cookbook, if those are the things that you really want to write at that moment, then write them. If that's what makes your soul sing, then write that. If that's what you think will make money, lie down, close your eyes, count to 100. Hopefully the feeling will pass, or you'll take a nice nap. One of those things will happen. I vote for a nap. I'm a big proponent of naps. But you have to care about what you're doing. You have to love the thing you're creating. Otherwise, readers can tell. They will know, and they will call your ass out on it. You phone it in one time and you've lost readers forever. So if you want to make money in this business, don't be so concerned with what's hot right now. All of you out there who are hammering away on your cozy fantasies because Travis Baldree got hotter than hell over the past 2 years, how's about you take a look at the fact that Travis Baldree was successful in the writing industry before he wrote Legends and Lattes. He was one of the most in-demand narrators out there. And he wrote Legends and Lattes because it's the book he wanted to read. Matt Denneman didn't become an overnight success with Dungeon Crawler Carl because he thought people like cats and people like feet. He wrote it because he thought it would be fun. Fun to write, fun to read, and he was absolutely correct. Both of these men are on top of the genre fiction mountaintop right now because they did what they wanted to do. You have to do the same thing. If you are 8 books into a 9-book series and are not feeling book 9, then postpone book 9 again. If you really want to work on a serial killer thriller, then work on a serial killer thriller. Sit your ass down, outline it, figure out where the story goes. That's what I'm stuck on right now, working on chapter 15 and pretty stuck. But you have to love what you're doing or nobody else will. If you take nothing else away from this, 16 minutes of me rambling, you have to love it or nobody else will. And it's okay for things to end. It's fine that the Black Knight Chronicles are going to be done after 9 books. At some point, Harker and Bubba will probably be done too. I don't see that on the horizon anytime soon, but I've been writing Harker for almost 10 years and I've been writing Bubba for longer. Eventually, I'm going to want to write other things. So I wrap up Black Knight Chronicles, that frees up writing time to write something else, keeps Bubba and Harker fresher for longer. You have to chase your creative fire, or everybody's going to know that you're just chasing a buck. And then they won't give you the bucks. So figure out what sets your chicken on fire. Look, I love my fire chicken, okay? Figure out what sets your chicken on fire and go get it. Till next time. Peace out, kids.